going to
Hold
say
on.
today is probably
The Starr D'Amico Show, brought to you by cheapesttshirts.ca. Need blanks for your next event or club? Check out cheapesttshirts.ca. No minimum order, free shipping over $350. Same-day shipping on lots of items. Affordable, Canadian, ready to print your design. Brought to you by Catherine Prince at Remax Platine, your Montreal real estate connection. Call her at 514-702-2474 or email Catherine with a K, Catherine at catherineprince.com. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest with confidence, Catherine Prince, your key to the city's property market. Brought to you by McLean's Pub. Looking for a lively downtown spot with great food and atmosphere? Come to McLean's Pub on Peel Street. Classic pub eats, plenty of beer, and all the sports on all the screens. Grab your friends and make McLean's your go-to place tonight. Brought to you by Cabletel, your full-service telecom partner for business and home. From structured cabling and phone systems to Wi-Fi, cameras, and alarms, Cabletel keeps you connected, secure, and performing at your best. Your partner for the future. It's Cabletel. Happy Friday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the live presentation of the Starr and D'Amico Show on YouTube.com and wherever you get your audio podcast platforms. And, of course, a big shout-out to our friends at Little Bear at littlebearonline.com on St. Catherine and Westmount. Expert advice from people that care about your pet as much as you do. Proud supporter of the Starr and D'Amico Show. Here we are to react in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens 7-0 whitewash, courtesy of the Dallas Stars last night, making history. The biggest shutout in Bell Center history, eclipsing the Ottawa Senators' blanking of the Canadiens in a 6-0 final all the way back in 1996. And never on the right side of history, Marco. And we've got a lot to get to today. We have our winner for our $100 gift card at Morella's. We're very much looking forward to our second live show at McLean's Public House coming up on Monday night at 6:30 to preview the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's at 1420 Peel Street in downtown Montreal. Looking forward to meeting many of you there. And that game was over and over in a hurry, despite the Canadiens coming out playing well in that first period, putting 14 shots on target, but left after 20, Marco, with a 1-0 final. And you got a sense of how good teams operate, huh? They're suffocating at times, and that's the second time Hab fans have witnessed that this week off the 5-1 loss to Los Angeles on Tuesday.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really not the way that they've broken down over the last couple of games. I think we were talking about it last week. They were winning those games or they were pushing them to OT, but they were staying in those games. And I think when you start playing veteran teams in the NHL that, you know, are very playoff experienced and understand how to break down teams, at least from their structural perspective, that's when you see them get exposed in situations like we've seen the Canadiens get exposed over the last couple of games. Yes, they lost 7-0 last night, but really the game was lost after they got to 4-0. Everything after that is details. And when you look back at those sequences and how they played, it was really just the Dallas Stars being opportunistic and taking advantage of the Montreal Canadiens' mistakes. So, you know, to me, part of it is the Canadiens got looks. They weren't able to capitalize on them. They're, for whatever reason, hesitation, lack of execution, misplays. We'll get into all of that. But when you look at this specific game against Dallas, to me, the biggest differentiator, and I think it's something that we've been talking about a lot, is just an over-reliance on the same strategies, the same setups, the same systems that teams have caught on with video at this point and have figured out ways to counter.
You know, it's funny because I kind of look at it through a similar lens last night and certainly this week, right, where, you know, you're not playing adult Sunday hockey league at 10 o'clock at Bonaventure on Côte d'Liesse. You know, it's the job of the Gullicksons of the world, the video team, to make sure, okay, we're going into the Bell Center tonight. Canadiens' top 5 power play unit. Dallas was number 2 on the man advantage going into last night. The Stars have scored power play goals now in 7 consecutive games, so they're not to be messed with, certainly. But to me, that was it right there. Like, I liked the fact that this was a measuring stick game. I liked the fact that the team had some pushback, and Casey DeSmith was on top of his game very early on when the Canadiens were suffocating the Dallas Stars. but it's that attention to detail that leaves room to grow in a really big way. Of whether Lane Hudson goes down deep, Noah Dobson leaves his position, who's there to recover? Who's there to pick up that assignment? And we saw that multiple times, did we not? Where in their own end, losing the battle in the neutral zone, and the Dallas Stars, who are a top 6 heavy team, just exploited those holes. And like, I'm not putting it on Jakub Dobeš. They scored some nice goals on Jakub Dobeš yesterday, but it was just this cumulative effect of whether it was focus, attention to detail, not paying attention to your role on the ice, and really good contending teams, as we saw, last night, will make you pay for that lapse in concentration or focus.
Yeah, and and I don't want to come off as too negative or just kind of calling back to some of the stuff that I've said, kind of over the last 2 weeks, but it's definitely a lack of synergy on the ice. There's definitely a lack of positional awareness. Shaun, I think we can look over the 4 goals. I sent you a couple of screen grabs that we could even look over, but just to give fans an idea of what I'm talking about, if we could pull up any of those, we could actually walk through and show, like, hey,
yeah,
these were structural breakdowns.
Well, totally. So let's do it one by one, right? So
Yeah.
the Canadiens are taking it to Dallas. Casey DeSmith, as I mentioned, making some good stops, right? And then Montreal gets into a little bit of a jam here, right? Kirby Dach gets called for holding on Jason Robertson, right? Which sets up again this kind of lethal power play we were talking about. And the Dallas Stars came in with the second-ranked man advantage and had scored power play goals in 6 in a row. And this was more or less the structure as Dallas was operating when they were about to leave the first period and took a 1-0 lead based off this setup with the man advantage, with the Montreal Canadiens 1, 2, 3, 4 in that little box formation right in the slot area of the defensive zone.
Yeah, well, they're playing a vertical box here. Like, the trapezoid is being stretched vertically instead of horizontally, right? And so you can see the way that they're kind of set up over here. Kapanen playing a little high, and then in consequence, you have Newhook playing a little high. And so the moment they bring the puck back down to Rupe Hintz, number 24 on the bottom left, well, if you're the guy playing the bumper, it's very easy to kind of slide in between the 4 because the center of the ice isn't really being covered. Matheson is playing too high, trying to cover the forward at the circle. And so the moment that the puck comes back down low, it's very difficult for everybody to reposition themselves. And then Wyatt Johnston, who is just a beauty of a player.
Yeah.
That's an all day, every day, point shot and bumper shot, and very difficult for a goaltender, especially Jakub Dobeš. He wasn't even positioned. He wasn't ready. He wasn't set to take that shot. Just how quick that play went down. And that's kind of the attention to detail that I've been talking about on the penalty kill. And we'll get on Oliver Kapanen because there was some changes in the lines later on, but a lot of the strategy behind the way they changed the lines up last night came from defensive plays like this. So this was just goal number 1. Let's go. Goal number 2 is probably a little bit more egregious. So Kirby Dach in the corner, right? So this basically creates a 5-on-4. Brendan Gallagher overcommitting a little bit in this situation, leaving the passing lane open for Esa Lindell. But the biggest issue for me is Zachary Bolduc in this case. He's where the red X is, or it kind of looks like a Y. I apologize. But he should be much further up. Like, he crashed the net for very little reason.
Well, look how low they are too, right? I mean, that's that we talk about gap control in the defensive zone. Look at the gap of the two Dallas guys closest to you, and look where 76 is, right?
Exactly. And so the issue is that, and again, their box is stretched out vertically, which means that cross seam passes are very easy for a team to do. As long as you get through the line, you're done. It's over, and the ice is completely open. Where Bolduc should have been closer to the middle of the circle to be able to not only cover the player in the circle, but also, remove the shooting opportunity from 23, Esa Lindell. And Lindell gets that puck and it has a wide open lane to shoot and takes full advantage. I mean, again, this is part of this is bad luck. I'm going to afford this. Part of this is bad luck. Kirby Dach fearlessly blocked that shot. And
Yeah.
man, it looked like it hurt. Like he
Oh,
was
definitely.
pissed.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad. But at the same time, you as a unit should be able to come off as being able to defend something like that. And so like this is where I felt like the Canadiens got really hurt in that situation, because the defensemen are correct in their positioning, because I think it's Jack-Eye that's 72 over there that's
Exactly.
coming in to cover for an injured Doc. Carrier is where he's supposed to be, firmly in front of the net, and where in situations like this, it's up to the wingers to cover for the hurt centers and collapse into the slot, not extend themselves, one near the crease, one near the top of the circle when there's nobody there yet. Like Gallagher's trying to cover for a point shot that's not coming.
Well, and to me, that was kind of thematic of the night, where, lack of positioning, lack of awareness from certain wingers. We'll get into Oliver Kapanen. Brendan Gallagher, through 17 games, has no goals and is getting over 2 minutes on the power play. And there were countless times where, for whatever reason, he didn't have his legs, couldn't win a one-on-one battle, and just created way too many turnovers collectively as a team. The Canadiens have given the puck away, I think, a combined 32 times this week in 2 games against LA, last night against Dallas. And we take you to the third goal of the night, right? Fresh off Esa Lindell's second of the year. It was less than 4 minutes later where Tyler Seguin is on 5 goals, and Jason Robertson has been a pain in the butt for most of that second period. And there he was again. But here we are, you put the question mark up. And this, to me, again, to take it back to how thematic it was, just out of position, not correctly reading or anticipating the play, which results again in what was a theme of odd man rushes, let alone breakaways on Jakub Dobeš for the third goal for Dallas to go up 3-0.
Yeah, well, this was the point in the game where Lane Hudson, really nice move up the ice, decided to go and take a shot, missed the net, went back around the other way, and then Dallas simply just had to flip it up to center ice, and Tyler Seguin was off to the races. Well, if Lane Hudson is the one driving the play up the ice, then Josh Anderson in the far end and Alex Carrier, who's circled, have to be covering the center of the ice so that Lane Hudson can come back. Like you had the time to do that, right? Because the puck ricocheted, had to be stabilized, and then the pass was made. Ample time to be put in a positional, like in a strong positional way. It doesn't make sense that Lane Hudson is the one that is closest back while he was trying to back check after a play like that. One of those guys has to be ready to be able to cover the center of the ice, or else this is exactly what happens. And again, like, this is structural.
Yeah.
This is why I go back to, like, it's not a question of this player's bad, that player's bad, it's reads. It's being able to focus on the details. And I think at that point, like, Hail Mary plays like that, like, to me, this was the end of the game. This was it. And I know the Canadiens have come back from 3-0, but not against teams like Dallas, not against teams that could shut it down. At this point, to me, this was the backbreaker. This was it.
Well, and again, we saw it against LA and highlighted again in a 7-0 loss at home to Dallas on Thursday night that, if the Montreal Canadiens' speed can't be a primary weapon, the heavier, deeper teams will cause all sorts of frustration. And the Montreal Canadiens, in case you needed to be reminded, are the youngest team in the NHL. And this was a very extreme learning moment for the game, which here we are again talking about now with the Stars up 3-0, and 8 minutes later, there he is again. There's Jason Robertson, and Mikko Rantanen was a force in that hockey game again. And we're talking about just a step or two behind, which allows for a wide open lane at Jakub Dobeš, who's at the top of his crease, ready to go.
That lane,
it's 4-0.
Sorry, Shaun, but that lane is not open if Kapanen plays that properly.
Well, I pointed that out, and that's the theme of the night of just situational awareness was tremendously lacking throughout the course of that game after the first period.
Let us remember how this play started, right? Kapanen goes up the ice, loses the puck in the zone entry in the offensive zone, goes back the other way. Robertson is sprung. Now, Kapanen has the speed and the time to be able to cut where the arrow goes. Instead, if you look at how this goal went down, he actually goes behind Robertson on the outside, trying to stick lift him instead, as opposed to trying to get in on the inside and battle for the possession of the puck and giving Dobish that extra second to reposition as a guy like Robertson would be able to come in. Like this is more basic, like man-to-man coverage strategy. And so again, I feel like there's either a lack of concentration or a lack of confidence right now. And it really shows when the Canadiens are playing these kinds of like odd man systems where it's a 2-on-1 or there's a breakdown in the offensive zone. And again, and I point this like this, I don't fault Lane Hudson on this whatsoever, but Kapanen and Carrier on this play we're just not there.
100%. Carrier to me was Carrier has been on the struggle bus a little bit, and I thought was, consistently outthought, to be kind, in that hockey game.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, as we, break down the multiple inefficiencies defensively, positionally speaking, and, at that point, we're talking about a low volume and shot total here. It was 3-0 after 8 shots. And, the Montreal Canadiens, for the most part, played a tighter game. But when they didn't tighten up, they were just exposed left, right, and center. And, we look forward to the Boston Bruins here on Saturday night that had their 7-game winning streak come to an end, as the depth of the Ottawa Senators really showed up in a big way yesterday, with Tim Stützle having 3 points, Shane Pinto scoring a nice goal there. So we'll look forward to seeing what Boston's pushback, what Montreal's pushback is going to be. We have a lot of time to get into that. But the loss of Alex Newhook obviously is just terrible. The guy's having a season for the Montreal Canadiens clearly has been vital, for the team lacking depth, whether it's just talent, whether it's scoring punch. And he goes down and did not return. And it looked really bad. You watch the replay. You saw Kapanen, tell the training staff, come out here. He's helped off the ice. He's helped backstage. And obviously he does not return. As of right now, the Canadiens have not said anything. It's not a day off for the team. A lot of dry land training. A few guys are on the ice. Demidov, Bolduc, Hudson, Kapanen. They were skating this morning, but most of the guys more or less in the gym, if not the video room. So let's talk about the compound effect of what this means here. Are they going to look at Kampf on the waiver wire? Are the Canadiens going to take a hard look at the guy the Maple Leafs just looked? Darren Dreger suggested perhaps that would be a good fit. The Vancouver Canucks obviously need some help there. But the compounding effect now of what this means moving forward for Saturday night with, I don't want to speculate, but it looks like an angle, looks like he's going to be out for a minute. What's this mean now going forward?
Yeah, well, the Canadiens have decisions to make. Obviously, they were at 21 men on the roster. So if you lose one like this, you have the opportunity. So David Kampf, fourth line center, 6'2", left shot. Again, things they don't have in their lineup right now. And you lose Newhook, and the way that Joe Veleno has been playing, I don't know if the Canadiens want to give him center ice either. So you need someone who could take the left shot draw. So Kampf can make sense. I don't necessarily see, like you brought up the Canucks. I think they're a team that makes a ton of sense too. There are a couple of teams that will that will show interest, I'm sure. He's on waivers for the purposes of a mutual termination, so he won't get picked up. His contract will be terminated first and foremost as of 2 p.m. today. We are Friday. And then he will be free to sign a new contract with another team. So at that point, the Canadiens, other teams will do their due diligence, do their homework. If the Canadiens feel like he's a guy that could help on a 1-year contract, once they have more clarity on Alex Newhook's injury, well, that's their prerogative, that's for sure. And then on the flip side, the question then becomes, well, if Newhook is out and the Canadiens are on a 21-man roster, they could actually emergency recall someone from Laval. And then the question becomes who?
Correct. And, you can go down the list. There's a few people pointing it out here, and like right off the hop here. There's so many chats coming in right now, but here's one from Barry. Habs are too small. Time to bring up Florian Xhekaj. Florian Xhekaj has not had a good start with the Laval Rocket. The team collectively, outside of a couple of personnel, have not been a dynamo offensively. Florian's on 1 goal through 13 games. I think the conversation more or less hinges around maybe 2, maybe 3 guys. Jared Davidson might be at the top of the list, obviously, with 9 goals. 3 of those goals are on the power play. Joshua Roy in 9 games has 4 goals. Are they going to give him another look? Personally, my point of view, if I had to call it today, I'd like to see Jared Davidson maybe get a look as Martin St. Louis has to reconfigure his forward combinations. And maybe there's someone there that, if you're looking like promoting from within, like who's going to take Alex Newhook's role on the power play, on the second wave of the power play? Like, I don't think it's going to be Josh Anderson.
We saw last night it was Joe Veleno.
Exactly. He was out there quite a bit.
And so I mean, listen, I think that the Canadiens' lines are going to get mangled a little bit.
Yeah.
The Canadiens didn't break up the first line much last night, but we did see Bolduc, Doc, Demidov to end the game. And I think that will stick to start next game. Brendan Gallagher are probably going to be brought down to play with Kapanen and whoever they decide to complete that line with, just to give it a little bit more of an identity. Or, they have Veleno in that slot and they put, Gallagher back on the fourth line. But again, to me, when you look at the team and the way that they're playing, there is only one Canadiens prospect playing in Laval with a valid NHL contract that has more than 5 goals through 13 games.
Mm-hmm.
One. His name is Jared Davidson.
That's right. So
to me, I don't necessarily think this is a difficult decision. It's Jared Davidson all day, every day. And again, this isn't going to save the Canadiens. Like, we're talking about a bottom 6 player, a fourth liner right now, maybe a third liner if he develops really well. But this is a guy that's probably looking at a career on an NHL fourth line if he sticks to the league. So it's not going to change the game for the Canadiens. The Canadiens' best offensive assets that are not playing with the team are playing in amateur levels in the NCAA and in Russia right now. So neither of those guys can help in Jarofsky and Hage. So you have to go with what you have. And right now in Laval's situation is as offensively concerning as it is in Montreal over the last little bit, because as we speak right now, the Laval Rocket are basically the Montreal Canadiens without the high shooting percentage.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Florian, who had 24 goals last year, has 1 through 13. And he admitted it to me. There's going to be an interview with BPM Sport that comes out in about a week or so, where I interview Florian and we talk about, his habits and his offense and this and that. And he's the first one to admit it. He needed to step his game up in that regard. So I don't know that the Canadiens are going to pull him out when he's already not at his best. He's playing fourth line center in Laval right now. I think they want to see him get out of his funk before they give him a call up, even though I understand fans wanting a little bit more physicality, a little bit more size. I feel like Jared Davidson brings a lot of that physicality and plays with that dog in him as well. So I think we could see a call up from him. And if I'm the Montreal Canadiens at this point, I want to try different things. I understand the intent of trying to keep your roster as small as possible, right? Because the Canadiens are only carrying 21 men, and you can carry 23 in the league. They want to save as much cap space as possible to be able to make a trade. Does this prompt them to make a trade? I don't think so. But what might change is they may be more, because you lose a veteran or a guy like Newhook, and you're already having trouble with your lineup top to bottom in terms of scoring outside of the first line. Maybe you carry 22. You add a forward to that rotation, and then you maybe try different combinations.
Oh, so that's it. Like,
we talked about Davidson. I'd be curious to see if they give an actual look to Joshua Roy this time with all the home games they have coming up.
I mean, I don't think he's out of the conversation. I mean, you and I both agree. I think if you had to make a call today, I also would lean Jared Davidson and Florian Jacki, for a team that has the 17th ranked PK for, a Jacki, and I get it, he brings physicality. The guy's going to bust his tail to make an impression. I'm just worried about, the penchant for penalties, for stepping over the line, for making a bad decision that puts his team in a shorthanded situation. And even if we go back to his time with the Canadiens at camp, and I think we did a good job of highlighting the fact that, he wasn't lighting the lamp. Everyone loved Jacki because he was like physical and was fighting. And pumping the crowd up after a scrap and, showed a lot of courage with who he chose to fight. But, that's not what this team needs, in my opinion. They don't need to be shorthanded. They need more depth. They need someone that, given an opportunity, can actually help them score a goal here and provide some relief in the absence now of Alex Newhook. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I at this point, Alex Newhook had so many roles for the Canadiens, and
Yeah.
it's such a gut punch to the player because it really felt like his career was taking off for real this time. Playing penalty kill, putting him on the power play, 5-on-5, a guy that Martin St. Louis didn't mind, double shifting, really gained the trust. And you see that, I think it's an ankle injury, to be honest. It looked like a knee at first, but the way that he was able to get on his knees, and if you have a knee injury, you don't put pressure on your knee like that. You don't. You're basically on one leg, and that's it. So I think it's probably ankle related. It's happened before. This isn't the first time he's had an ankle injury with the Canadiens. It happened after his first 15 games when he was acquired 2 years ago. And it's the way that he slides into the boards. Like, you curl up into a ball, maybe, and the game is so fast, it's really hard to say, but maybe it's not as impactful. But the way his leg flew back the other way, I think it. I'm not a doctor. But it just does not look good. It looks like it's a couple of weeks. I wish him the absolute best in recovery. He was one of my favorites to speak to in the Canadiens room. Always kept it real. This is a guy who actively spent his time praising Demidov and talking about how he had no skill whatsoever, which is kind of hilarious when you think about it, considering how well his season had gone. So great guy in the room. I know that the players were really bummed out last night. But as you said, the Canadiens now need to have guys step up. Right now, the fourth line has not been doing that. Josh Anderson, Jake Evans, not doing that at this point. Although I thought Jake Evans had a much better couple of games. It's just that his teammates have not been finishing his plays. Now you got to find the next level. Who is going to be able to step up? Because we've heard or people talk about the Canadiens' depth in their pipeline. You have to put it to the test now. You have to start calling up guys that are knocking on the door or whom you have to take decisions on. And right now, the two best offensive players in Laval are Roy and Davidson. I would give them both a look.
And I also saw, let's understand, I saw some criticism directed at Jake Evans that he got the bag and then ran away and hid with it. Jake Evans, like this team, Kathy Harvey-Pinard, who does a great job covering the team for La Presse here in Montreal, had a great breakdown and put it in a historic context with the team collectively shooting at 13%. That's a gaudy number. Teams just don't, keep that in terms of sustainability, right? And we talked about it on a couple of episodes prior to this one about Kapanen's shooting percentage, where a bunch of guys were in terms of, keeping a very high level up. And now the law of averages, like Father Time, is undefeated. It generally regresses back to the norm. And you're seeing a little bit of this. And don't mishear me. I'm not saying the Canadiens are not a bad team. They're also not a great team. And when the top line doesn't stir the drink consistently and they're not scoring or dominating puck possession, there's a lot left to be desired. And as we move forward against the Boston Bruins, I'm curious about, the goaltending position, right? It's been teeter-totter. Dobish was on an absolute heater, obviously came back down to earth with a poor night between the pipes for the Montreal Canadiens. And I'm not really blaming him. I think we did a good job earlier of highlighting the miscues defensively that resulted in some nice goals, right? But one of the things I noticed online yesterday, and I always remind myself, Twitter is not a barometer of real life. And one thing I noticed was, and I'm curious about this, that's why I'm going to bring it to the table here, that Martin St. Louis should have continued to roll with Jakub Dobish when he was playing really well, and that perhaps the coaching staff did a misstep by air quote icing him in order to get Sam Montembeault going. I don't really think that's what happened in terms of why Dobish didn't play great last night, but I'm curious to get your perspective on whether or not that was a misstep, that when Dobesh was going, they should have rode Dobesh longer than they did and prioritize that over Sam Montembeault regaining his touch and his confidence.
I think it's very easy to make that kind of correlation. But hockey is a team sport, and you cannot convince me that the Montreal Canadiens have been playing well in front of their goalies during that time. So even if they would have left him in nets and rode him, would the outcome have been different? Would he have stood on his head this entire time? Was he standing on his head even during that 6-0 run?
Yeah.
Was he? The answer to that question is yes, but no. He definitely looked fantastic in certain games, right? Definitely looked really, really good. But at the, like the Detroit game, he definitely stood on his head. But in Seattle, he almost lost that game because of his lack of concentration. He was being used profusely at that point, right? Against New Jersey, I don't think that he played bad against New Jersey because they gave Montembeault an extra game. Like, I'm sorry. And if you're an NHL goaltender and you're that fragile, you're not the goalie to lead this team to a Stanley Cup. I'm sorry. And that's the way I look at it. Was it a bad decision? I think that there's a lot of criticism that can go to Martin St. Louis with the way that the season has gone, within the sense that, yes, the Canadiens are still 9-5-1. It's still a good record, but it's just the way that they look within those wins are not convincing. And it was because their goalies they had good performances from their goalies. Like their 6-2 win against Utah was Montembeault saving their bacon for half the game, and then the Canadiens being opportunistic on their chances, not outchancing their opponent, just being opportunistic. So if the Canadiens play the way they played, for example, on Saturday versus Utah, where they were opportunistic on their chances and they were playing weak goaltending, yes, it masks certain issues. But I don't think that not playing Dobesh necessarily accounted for the fact that, he started his play started dipping. I just don't see that. If you're in the room or if you're practicing with those guys, you have to be ready at any point and any time. And I don't think you're taking away momentum. What I would say, though, is that I think the Canadiens became too reliant on Dobesh's performance. And the moment there was a deviation from that, the confidence was affected, because against Seattle, we saw Dobesh again, that second goal on the power play after Struble took the bad penalty, kind of like put his hands up in the air. That was the first sign. And then the following game, he loses 4-3 in OT, and he's crying after that. Like there were clear signs then, when he was getting more and more games, that there was still a confidence issue then. And he was getting all the games. So I don't know that I don't know that the Canadiens would be in a different situation right now if they would have continued to play Montembeault or not, because the reality is Montembeault, Dobesh, whoever could have played last night would not have won that hockey game with the way that the team was playing in front of them. And that has been the case for I'd say about a week and a half to 2 weeks. I don't think this is a goalie issue. I think this is a structure issue, just like we pointed out at the beginning of the show. The goals that were scored, at least the first 4, because I think after that, game's over. But the first 4 goals were just ridiculous coverage structure issues that the Canadiens can easily clean up, that wouldn't give golden opportunities to their opponents.
I kind of see it the way, Mark Denis of RDS outlined it. I think looking at the goaltending and blaming the goaltending lately is kind of a loser take. It's an incorrect way, I think, of really thoroughly breaking down, what's happened with the Montreal Canadiens. And like, I have full confidence. I would bet money on it that Sam Montembeault is going to be back in goal on Saturday against the Boston Bruins. And I think ultimately, when you look at, and we've been talking about this for a minute, that the schedule is an absolute mother and it's just getting started.
Let's also talk about the schedule.
And so, like, in my opinion, like, they don't have a Carey Price here. And by that, I mean, I'm not talking talent. I'm talking about a horse, a guy who's going to go in there, lock it down, play all the time, right? Like, they need, whether you agree or not, I would die on this hill. They need both guys. If they're going to survive, to be dramatic, they need both guys. And to me, there wasn't another path other than figuring out how to get both guys going more or less simultaneously in order to get ready for the games that are to come. And you're getting a taste of it. You got a taste of it this week with LA, with Dallas, with Boston on Saturday, Columbus on Monday, and then buckle up, kiddos, because it is going to be a very, very active stretch of games against some quality opposition right around the corner.
And you look at the strength of schedule prior to the Canadiens' most recent homestand. The first 10 games of the season, the Canadiens didn't play many playoff bound teams from last season. Now, all of a sudden, they're playing playoff team after playoff team after playoff team.
Yeah.
And I think it's showing a little bit. And there is a strength of schedule that goes into it. This is why, like, again, I wasn't so far on the hype train to say that this is a contending team or this is now a top team in the NHL. Like, this is the trap that you get into. You know, I will always remember I believe it was the Centennial season, 08-09, where the Canadiens won like 10 straight to start the season, something along those lines, and then finished like 8th to last. Or sorry, no, 8th with the 8th seed and got booted in 4 games. Something along those lines. Like, the strongest Canadiens starts to seasons, usually there's a course correction that happens. And so, especially with a young team like this, it's very understandable. I think the biggest thing now is going to be for the Montreal Canadiens to really kind of reassess their strategy. I think one thing that rubs me wrong is we pointed out just some egregious structural mistakes on the ice, and most of the Canadiens are in the gym right now instead of practicing those specific situations on ice. I think that's the one thing that I just kind of raised an eyebrow to, just because, you know, maybe I would say this is not the time to be in the gym, but more, I don't think the team is out of shape by any stretch of the imagination. No, I think
agreed.
I don't think the team is playing with the right mentality or the right strategy, and perhaps, you know, practicing these in-game situations is probably the way to go. My take, but I'm not in the room. I don't know what the morale is like, so I'm not going to push too hard on that either.
You know, it's funny too, right? You know, the Canadiens with 10 wins and 22 points, same total as Ottawa and Boston. They played 1 less game than Ottawa, 2 less than the Boston Bruins. But if you look at teams on the outside looking in, I mean, it's so tight. It's just so tight across the board. I mean, that's just today's NHL. The Ottawa Senators have points now in 7 straight games. One good week, one bad week puts you from first to, you know, maybe the bubble team as far as the wild card race is concerned. So, like, to me, that's enough to say, okay, you know, regroup. Losses are going to happen. They get blown out. Let's see what the pushback is going to be on Saturday, right? But, you know, if there's anything again that we saw perhaps get exposed, have this light cast on it after the 7-0 loss, was as much as Jeff Gorton mentioned this after the 5-game playoff loss to Washington last spring. They still haven't done that job of figuring out how to be bigger, how to be more physical when they play teams like LA or Dallas. Other than, I mean, who's doing it? Joe Veleno? I mean, Josh Anderson skating around trying to hit guys and stuff like that. I mean, it's not Jake Evans. You know, they still don't have that.
One of the guys that they wanted for sandpaper was Zachary Bolduc, and unfortunately, he's not delivering that right now.
But what is he delivering? He's got like 1 shot in his last 5 games.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is also health. I'm not convinced that he's healthy right now, just because I've seen him kind of not be at his best in this situation, and I would say the last 5 to 10 games, it's been a rough start to the season because he also was injured in that Ottawa game in Quebec City. So I'm pretty sure there's something lingering there, but there's the physicality that's missing there. Juraj Slafkovsky, I mean, there are instances of it. Has it been consistent? No, but he could definitely do it. So I think it's just being able to find that team identity and being able to have them exert that physicality on a more consistent basis. Again, that comes with a lack of experience, the fact that this is a very young team. So I'm not ready to press the panic button yet, because
No,
a
me
lot of
neither.
what we talked about can be rectified. A lot of it could be rectified, and I think this is where the crux of the issue is going to come from. And this, I'm not starting a train or a movement here, but this is where Martin St. Louis, as a head coach in the NHL, is going to have to show,
Yes,
like his team, that he could take a step up now and rise above this and adapt, change his strategy. And I think we saw instances of it last night with some of the roster compositions. Obviously, you lose a guy like Newhook, you have no choice but to move some guys around. But I think I'll be very interested to see how the combination of Demidov, Doc, and Budzik will go down, because now I don't think the Canadiens will have the luxury of overshifting their fourth line. They're going to have to put out some offensive guys, especially against teams that are deep down the middle. And that, I think, has been the most indicative thing. The Canadiens have looked their worst against teams with strength down the middle.
In a big way. In a big way.
And again, I continue to stress this. We talked about the Canadiens, checking in on Tage Thompson. TVA Spal reporting that that's not the case. Well, Elliot Friedman reporting that NHL teams, as of this morning on 32 Thoughts, have checked in on Tage Thompson, and the Buffalo Sabres have said not now. The Canadiens are very aware of this issue. I'm not saying they're going to make anything happen today, but they're very aware of this issue. They realize that this team has to push themselves together to be able to fix this. But there is also this idea that they do need outside help. Like, there will eventually need to be some influx of either physicality, talent, or hopefully, and for the Canadiens and fans, both in the same player. I'm not saying it's Tage Thompson. It could be another player. But those are the kinds of players that are being identified as guys that could be interesting to the Canadiens, because ultimately you have to reach another level. You cannot be a team that continuously goes like this. I don't care that they're the youngest team in the NHL, because the core, outside of Demidov, the core is in their mid-20s, 23, 24, 25. They've been in the league for 3-4 years now, 5 years, 6 years for some of them. Like, some of the issues, like Juraj Slafkovsky is in his fourth year. Some of the mistakes that he makes, I don't even see Demidov make as a rookie. So there is a level of consistency that you need to expect from them. And so I think that's where I would like to see Martin St. Louis show just a little bit less patience in that regard.
Should be interesting here is Ryerson Gooley back next week. Listen. I'm going to tread in dangerous water here. I'm hesitant to even say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I haven't heard positive news. So I'm going to leave that where it is. I don't know enough to. I heard not going great. It's not going great. But we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I mean, where he's in the 4 to 6 week timeline, and what I think this weekend is week number 4. So we'll see. We'll see how this develops. But obviously, I mean, the Gooley absence is significant. There's no doubt about that. So as it stands now, right? And let me take this opportunity here to remind everybody that we do have a winner. We did a Twitter giveaway for $100 at Morella's in Ganawage, Highway 132. This is a premium steakhouse without those premium prices. Great pasta, unbelievable wine and cigar selections. And you can go check out their website at Morella's Steakhouse. And Marco, we have a winner. We did a Twitter giveaway, and we did a random draw. And we're going to tag this guy, but congratulations to @Lemieux Dan on Twitter for being the lucky winner. But here's the thing. Dan, you want to get your hands on that $100 at Morella's? We need to see you at Maison Publique McLean's at 1420 Peel Street coming up on Monday to start next week. We're going to be doing a live presentation of this show that you're watching or listening to right now. So why not come check us out? Get ready for the Columbus Blue Jackets with Starr and D'Amico, with great drink and great food and great service and fun ambiance to watch the game. We're going to be live from 6:30 to 7:30. We have more prizes and gift cards and swag to give away as well. That should be a very fun night. We hope to see you at Public House McLean's on Monday on Peel Street at 1420 Peel between 6:30 and 7:30 on Monday, Marco.
Yes, congratulations again. We'll be doing another draw on Sunday after the Saturday game against the against the Boston Bruins. So on Sunday morning, we'll be doing a draw. We'll be putting out a post today for you all to enter. So make sure to go on X, go to Starr D'Amico, find the post, follow the account, and comment under it so that you too can be part of the next contest. We'll have 2 Morella's gift cards to give away. This is the first, second to be drawn on Sunday. And we also wanted to give a big thank you to one of our favorite outlet stores in Montreal, Canuck. They've been fantastic in terms of providing Montrealers for the last 50 years with the best when it comes to women's and men's outerwear, especially for those cold winters. They have a fantastic Black Friday sale coming up as early as the 25th of November. So we hope you can go and check them out, 25th of November to the 2nd of December. They've got amazing stuff, brand new. Everything has been renovated for them. I invite you to go check it out. My wife was blown away when we went to see them yesterday.
Yeah, I was there last spring and got ready for the winter. Love those guys. Big shout out to Jonathan and the staff over there. I want to get to the forward line combinations. Montreal International Film Festival, watching us live on YouTube.
Name.
Late to the party. Thoughts on Brendan Gallagher? 17 games and no goals, but it's this week, man. I haven't seen the legs, and he gets boxed out and not winning board battles. And listen, I get even the frustration of the power play, which is now 0 for 10 here. And I think it slipped to 7th overall. They went into the game top 5 in the NHL.
Well, you want to talk about the power play?
I mean, they're just not getting, to make it simple for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're, again, just not getting to the front of the net. It was frustrating to watch how easy and predictable it's become.
So I don't know if fans have noticed this, but when they do the formation on the first power play wave, it's almost like an overloading of each side. So either if they stay on the left side, Cole Caulfield or Nick Suzuki will be deep in the zone. He'll have a passing option at the top of the circle. And then you would hope that you would have somebody in the bumper.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday at a certain points, you saw Cole Caulfield in the bumper. For anybody that watched Cole Caulfield play internationally, especially at the World Junior Championships, that is a big no-no. Cole Caulfield does not belong in the bumper. So that didn't work out. And then when Ivan Demidov, who to me is the only one on that power play wave that's actually skating, like you just see this guy going up and down the right side, like just moving. Like we want this power play to move while the rest of the people on that power play glide. I think, you really want a little bit more juice from them.
Yeah.
And the front of the net is the biggest weakness. It's the biggest weakness even at 5-on-5.
Agreed.
They do not attack the front of the net with consistency. I feel like that's something Juraj Slafkovsky got away from. It's one of the main reasons he's on that wave to begin with.
They got to talk to him.
He has to be available for that shot. Ivan Demidov is playing 4 feet away from you. Your job, my sir, is to be available to take the shot. It's a left shot to a left shot. That one-timer should be easy. It'll have a spin on it so that the shot will go off, the release will go off faster. Like you have to be available to take that shot. You have the size. You're built like a fridge. You should be able to come in, impose yourself, and have the wherewithal to be able to take that one-time shot and be there. And Juraj Slafkovsky last night to start the game had like 8 shot attempts. So like he's very capable of getting them off. But it's about positioning. It's about wherewithal. It's about situational awareness. And this is not just defensive. It's offensive. So again, like I come back to this. There's a lot of video work that needs to happen with the Canadiens. They need to go back to basics because as Martin St. Louis alluded to last week, now we're kind of seeing the effects of it now. They're getting away from the details that made them such a dangerous team in the first place.
100%. And I've turned it once again. It was 2 weeks ago, we were talking about a generational looking power play that has now reverted back to an extreme level of predictability. And sometimes it could be the simplest thing. We talked about the lack of shot from the point. I'd like to see Noah Dobson get more involved in that category. And there's nothing wrong. You cite, Juraj Slafkovsky's years of service, right? He's still also 21 years of age. I think he's still trying to figure out what his identity truly is as an NHL player. And there's nothing wrong. Like I believe whether it's management or the coaching staff, there needs to be another conversation almost like a reset. Slav, we love what you've done early on. You know, you're not second half Slav this season. We've seen a lot of positive growth in the first 17 games of your season, but the attention to detail could be a little bit better. You've gotten away from the role that we think you can play better at, and it's a little bit of a reset going into Saturday. More net front presence, more tip drills. The hand-eye coordination is elite to me. Just about a little reset just to get him back to that.
Yeah, and again, like I state this time and time again, like it's just consistency. And when he's able to find that consistency, I think he'll be in a good spot. Shaun, I think we got like 10 minutes for today. I'd love to get into some of the comments, some of the Q&As from fans. I know there's a lot of energy right now, and I'd love to be able to dig into it. So guys, if you haven't already, send us your questions. Love to be able to answer if you guys have any questions about the team, call-ups, and or otherwise.
Yeah, the comment section, I monitor it pretty well as it goes along here. There's a lot of fire Martin St. Louis.
Well,
there's
that's not a question.
Yeah, there's a lot of Jakub Dobeš is a big crybaby, and teams have basically smelled blood in the water, and that's why Jakub Dobeš lost yesterday. Men against boys. There's a lot of irritation about this game. Here's David. David's a member of the show. Thank you, David. What's up with Lane? 2 to 3 bad games in a row now. Very unlike him. He looks like, sometimes 48 looks like he's trying to do a lot out there in the absence
of too much
of depth. It looks like he's trying to do a lot,
They're pairing him up. They're pairing him up with the fourth line a lot. And he's, I think I was saying this yesterday, he's the most dangerous forward on the ice when he's paired up with the fourth line.
Yeah.
Of the 5 players on the ice when he's on with the fourth line, he has the highest offensive zone success rate with possession because all they do is just dump and chase, right? It's the same thing. Jake Evans gets the puck at the offensive blue line, dumps it. Josh Anderson tries to come in, doesn't necessarily do his thing. The puck goes back the other way and possession is lost. So Lane Hudson is being asked to do the zone entries, and in doing that, gets open ice and is able to get a shot off, able to do something. But then the problem is, got to go back the other way. For a pairing that I really liked last year in Jaden Struble and Lane Hudson, it's just not it at this point. And I also feel like part of the issue with Lane Hudson is that he's overcompensating for the players that he plays with on the ice. And I think this is what's going on with Jaden Struble right now. I think we talked about this maybe a couple of minutes ago, but I think the team grossly misses a guy like Caden Gooley in their lineup.
Massively.
And I think we're getting to a point soon where the Canadiens are going to have to suck it up and try Adam Engstrom and see if he can bring maybe a different element. Because the way that the defensive brigade is going about structurally, that it be the way that Struble is playing, the way that we've seen Carrier struggle of late. Like the guys that I haven't seen struggle, ironically, Arber Xhekaj. Arber Xhekaj has been keeping it simple.
Steady again.
Keeping it steady, keeping it simple. To me, we haven't heard much about Arber Xhekaj over the last 5 to 10 games.
Correct.
That is the best possible outcome for a bottom pair defenseman in the NHL. And when he needed to get physical, he gets physical. When he needs to fight, he fights. That's fine. But as long as it's not hurting the team, no problems with me. So it really just comes down to structure. Maybe they have to break up that top pair, right? Maybe they have to slide Noah Dobson to play with Lane Hudson, and maybe they move Alex Carrier up to play with Mike Matheson. And the minutes are a little bit melded. Instead of Mike Matheson playing 27 minutes, maybe he plays 24 or 25. And you give that second pair a little bit of love. And then, you have Struble with Xhekaj for the time being, or you make a call up because we know that Adam Engstrom plays on the right side and has for 95% of his career. So, there are different combinations that could be tried if it cannot be solved from a structural perspective.
What do you guys think would be best suited? Who do you think would be best suited to replace Alex Newhook in the meantime? Do you think it would bring energy for the team in terms of a wake-up call? I think when you get outscored 12-1 in 2 games, that's pretty much the cold water on your face to get you out of bed, lickety-split. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to bring to the fans on Saturday night against the Boston Bruins. But if you missed, I guess, the first third of today's live show, Jared Davidson with his physical element and the fact that he's scored 9 goals, 3 of them on the power play. To me, my first choice, Marco, would be Jared Davidson. If you had to get into the mindset of management here, how do you think it's a close race in terms of having a conversation at the Bell Center between Joshua Roy and Jared Davidson?
It depends the role you want to bring in the player to play. I think that's the key, right? I think Jared Davidson, his only weakness is his foot speed, but Joshua Roy, although it's an aspect of his game that he's vastly improved on over the last, I'd say, 18 months, is still not his strong suit either. So if they're both not the fastest skaters, which is the one that provides you with, the type of skill set that you're missing? And I think that's where Jared Davidson comes in. More of a goal scorer, more of a get your nose dirty kind of guy, a guy that could help him. He's played center. He could take some faceoffs. He could play on the penalty kill. He could play on the second wave of the power play. He's strong along the boards. He'll mix it up. It won't, he won't be shy to drop the gloves. So again, I'm not necessarily against getting a guy like Davidson in the lineup. The only thing that I state is there isn't one call up in Laval that's going to make the difference for the Canadiens.
Agreed. They need a body. They need someone that's going to come in that's going to play on this team. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Because where I'm standing, they absolutely just need to figure it out from a strategy perspective. They need to play with a little bit more vigor, and they need to go back to basics. They need to keep it simple. They need to stop with the too cute shots, the low percentage shots. Yeah. It almost feels like everyone's playing NHL 26 a little too often because we're all trying to catch the goalies cheating. Go back to the basics. Shots down low, get for the rebound, crash the net, build your confidence. Because to me, it's going to take greasy goals for them to get out of this funk. It's going to take the ugly goals, the kind of goals that people laugh at the end of the day, at the end of a game when they see the highlight reels. Yeah, I think that's what it's going to take because
that's to me. I don't know how they're going to do that. They got a lot of pretty players, man. They got a lot of pretty players, and that means they don't have the greasy type. Brendan Gallagher 10 years ago would have been the answer to that question when he was the spark plug, and you'd put him on any line to get them going.
They have greasy types. It's just
who.
Well, Zachary Bolduc can play greasy. Let me tell you, it's just a question of health, in my honest opinion, when it comes to him. And the Canadiens are not in a situation where they can afford to sit him, even though it's not a major injury. If he's still nagging, from what I was told, his preseason injury was. You look at guys in the middle six; they have to step up, right? You've seen Oliver Kapanen take advantage of his situations and pot a couple of goals. Well, you need to see that with a little bit more consistency as well. And then, the physicality. Josh Anderson brings the physicality. If he could time it with the opposition, his timing has been off when it comes to his physicality as well. So part of it is concentration. Part of it is roster composition. This is why I understand fans wanting to call up a guy like Florian Xhekaj. I think it could bring a lot of physicality to the Canadiens' fourth line, but I don't know if you'd be doing the kid any justice, any help to his development and pulling him out of Laval right now. So that's why I honestly think it's Jared Davidson. And I feel like the Canadiens are going to look around and see if there's maybe something on the waiver wire, maybe something on the trade market for a bottom six player with a little bit of physicality that they could add to this team.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, what the decisions moving forward are. Again, you haven't seen anything as it relates to Alex Newhook. What happened to where'd Marco go? See if we get Marco back. That hasn't happened in a minute. See if we can get Marco back up on the screen there. There he goes.
Sorry, guys. There's a dip.
Montreal and Boston tomorrow night. And I don't know. Josh Anderson.
That's going to be a big test. That's going to be a really big test as the Bruins.
To me, the Demidov, Doc, and Bolduc combination, I would love to see a large sample, and I think we're going to get that. Just off the Newhook injury, right? And I kind of expect Bolduc to find another level to his game, and that to me, it's a compliment paid to Demidov that he's going to put him in situations where where I think they're going to simplify that game. I think they're going to do more funneling, and I think they're going to try to get a little bit dirty. And I think Demidov and Bolduc is something I'm optimistic that can be built off of and maybe find some success. And I don't think it'll take too long. Marco, your microphone's not working. So, no, still nothing. You're muted. There you go. There you go. I think that's a little bit better.
Sorry, everybody.
Nope.
So,
yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes, it is now.
Thank you. So I really believe that when it comes to the Canadiens' second line option, I think this is putting all their eggs in one basket. And I think this is what they needed from the beginning. Like if you want to ride depth when I felt like that depth was playing above their pay grade, that's fine at the beginning of the season, but that's not going to help you in January and February or even December, like those dog day months. And the way that the Canadiens' calendar is structured right now, unfortunately, it is the dog days of the winter have moved up a little bit, and mid to late November is going to be ridiculous. So you have to load up, you have to trust your talent, and I think this is a prime opportunity to get Demidov more minutes, to put players in better situations potentially. You look at a guy like Kapanen, his line now officially becomes a true shutdown line because there is no legitimate proven offense that can kind of come from that other than in defensive situations. So it'll be interesting because it allows players to have to work on going above and beyond. And I think that's going to be the key, right? And so what is going to help the Canadiens in this situation is going to be better strategy, not an over-reliance on a fourth line that doesn't produce. A power play that is going back to basics and not trying to make the pretty plays, but is just trying to get pucks on net and converging and overloading. I think that's what really gets it done for the Canadiens. And, and it gets a team like the Bruins that's very much, meat and potatoes kind of team with a couple of talented players like Pasternak on it. And Geeky's been playing fantastic. It's a good test because, again, that's a team that I wouldn't say is necessarily strong down the middle, but definitely has more depth down the middle. And it'll be up to the Canadiens to be able to measure up.
Thanks for everybody for taking time out of your lunch day on this Friday to check in. I know it's not a lot of fun this week. I get it. But don't hit that panic button. This is still a good team. There's a gap between great and good, and this is still a good team. And we'll see how the Canadiens absorb what is a significant injury to Alex Newhook. We'll be here, of course, live Sunday morning at 10 a.m. to recap what we just saw, and hopefully we have a little bit more news on the severity of Alex Newhook's injury and what that timeline may look like. But in the meantime, chin up, my friends. It's Friday, say the weekend. It's Grey Cup weekend. Have lots of fun. And don't forget, if you got some time, we'd love to see you at McLean's Public House, 1420 Peel Street, Monday night from 6:30 to 7:30 for the second live presentation of this show.
And there will be live prizes to give away at McLean's as well that we're not giving away during these shows. So everybody that does show up, there's going to be merch. There's going to be a couple of gift certificates at Maison Publique as well to give away. So I invite you all to show up. Those that are coming or anyone that wants to come, please make sure to type McLean's in the comment section. We'd love to make sure that there's enough space for everybody that follows this channel.
Yeah, so we'll see you hopefully Monday night, and between now and then, we'll see you Sunday morning at 10 for the traditional Sunday morning show. Marco, enjoy your Friday, and looking forward to seeing what Saturday night brings to Habs Nation. Thanks, man.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.